Today I'm going to tell you why I think injury is not a rite of passage in sports. And I hear this a lot on podcasts, and people think, injury is just a badge of honor, right? People like David Goggins, the Navy SEAL, who runs like crazy, and, he's convincing lots of people that you just got to suffer through it. And while that might sort of work with him, the guy's got, structurally, he's better than 99 point something percent of all Americans. And so I can see how that might work for him. And he thinks, oh, okay, it doesn't matter if I get injured a bit. I can just keep pushing myself and I'm stronger mentally for it. But there's going to be half the people that try to do that are going to try to do the same thing, and they're going to start to get seriously injured. And they think that this is somehow a good thing. And I think it's only a bad thing. And I'm going to explain why I think that today. But first, let me kind of take you back. Like, I was not always of the mindset that I am now. I actually grew up as a fitness buff. And the reason is that when I was a kid, I was chubby. And I got made fun of in school. And it kind of stood over me, like it hung over me like a rain cloud during my childhood. And then when I was 13 or 14 or so, I lost all the weight. I was playing a lot of sports. My mom controlled very much what I was eating, or she tried to. And I became this fitness buff that would do a lot of exercise, play a lot of sports, and was eating salads and healthy food all the time. And so that was my mindset for most of my early life. Like I continued that way in my 20s and most of my 30s. But what happened in my 20s is I started to have a lot of neck and back tightness and my throat. And I would anyway force myself to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and eat all this healthy food. But I just kept declining. Like I was feeling worse and worse. I started going to hospitals a couple times a week, and I did that for over a decade. Like I did that for almost 2 decades. But I had in this mindset that no, just keep going to the gym. Just keep, that is how you get through this. And it was completely bullshit. I felt so shitty at various points in my 30s, so little energy, I'd be falling asleep at 5, 6 o'clock p.m., even while I was forcing myself to go to the gym and eating all this healthy food and taking all these extra supplements. Now, I'm 47, I don't do any of that shit, and I function 3x better than I did in my early 30s. And I'm not even joking. I can just machine my way through from 8 a.m. to about 11 p.m. every day, just nonstop. And even on the weekends, I just don't stress. And I don't do any of that diet or exercise garbage. I mean, if you enjoy doing a little bit, I'm not saying don't, if you enjoy it, do it because you enjoy it. Don't do it because you actually think it's going to help you. And what I've consistently experienced is that injury, pushing yourself, unless you're using these biomechanics to get better, right? Like you're wearing an appliance, a rubber appliance, like a Revive One, or you're wearing a flat plane splint or something. Unless you're doing that, you are making yourself worse. You're aging yourself faster the more you exercise. I have seen that so many times in my own body in this past 10 years that I put it beyond a doubt, right? And I see it working in others. My parents are a good example of this. My mom and her husband, they force themselves to exercise every day. They're close to their 80s, and they have this mindset that this is what's keeping them healthy and alive. And I just don't agree at all. And now, they're having more and more health issues, and they just refuse to see things from another perspective. And what I've consistently seen is injury tends to mean that you're pushing your structure beyond into some new kind of position. The injury is kind of, in my view, the body saying, hey, I am about to shift because you're putting too much pressure on the way things are now. So then something shifts to try to get to a more comfortable position for your body, more stable, right? It's kind of like a building collapsing slowly. It usually just doesn't go all down. It'll keep shifting over time until finally it does collapse. And the other thing I feel is as I do this process, I'm just getting stronger and more flexible. I don't do any exercise really for the last 4 years or so. I eat whatever I want. And I got on the paddle court recently with my wife and her friends a few times. Padel is kind of like tennis. It's I think it's really popular in Spain. You're on a shorter court. And my wife dragged me out, and I was surprised how good I felt. I outplayed all of them, despite the fact that I'd done no exercise, despite the fact that they were, about 10 years younger than me, and I just felt so good. And this compared to when I was playing tennis about 3 or 4 years ago, when I was not feeling good and I was just hitting everything wrong. And now on the paddle court, like, I was just hitting everything right, despite the fact that I hadn't done anything. And I think it's such a good metaphor for how the body works. Like, the body doesn't care how much you force yourself to do some exercise. That is not how it determines strength. What it determines strength and your coordination and whatnot is how well structurally your body is functioning. And that is the stuff that we're trying to correct with these biomechanics. Conclusion is, don't yourself to do all this sports and exercise beyond a certain point. Like, do it if you enjoy it a little bit, but injury is not a good thing.